Travel off the beaten track anywhere in the world, within wild forests covered landscapes, and you will soon find stories, legends of wild men. Big hairy ape-like creatures roaming the woods. Frequently, the names used, dependent on where in the world you are, range from Skunkape, Yetti, Abominable Snowman, Sasquatch and Genoskwa, the most popular being Bigfoot. The name Bigfoot was derived by the large prints left on the ground where the creature had been. For many, this is the primary, and at times the only evidence, left at the scene. For the most part, the general contention for the origins of these aberrations of nature are that they are of humanoid species that evolved alongside man for thousands of years. Their race has now dwindled, and they retreated into deep forests due to man's industrialization and deforestation of the planet. Very occasionally, they forage out and run into hunters and people on trail hikes. Before one places scorn on the latter theory, it is worth pointing out, to date, no real physical evidence or remains have been brought to science for analysis. The closest DNA results that can be cited are DNA traces that resulted as undetermined after tests. Predominantly, the experiences have been put down to hoaxes or misidentification of animals. Believers in Bigfoot legends may cite this lack of evidence as support for their argument of the intelligence of these creatures. Many of these believers say that these creatures live in a family and they also bury their dead. Therefore, like animals and predators, the remains of their fellows are not left to the ravages of nature and, more importantly, other people to find. Perhaps the best place to begin looking for the origins of Bigfoot are amongst the native or First Nation people of America. Within the national tribes are many stories of their people coming across Bigfoot or something similar. As a matter of fact, the name Sasquatch is taken from the Native American dialect. However, there is another name which refers to a slightly different creature called Genoskwa. Both creatures are known to avoid man in general. However, the Genoskwa is known to be more ill-tempered and aggressive of the two creatures. Legends and stories told by tribesfolk speak of a time when these creatures lived alongside their own people. Indeed, there were rumours of conflicts. Some accounts tell of these creatures abducting Native American women. Hence the tribes feared them and learnt to avoid them. Whether these abductions were based on curiosity, mating needs or food, we shall never know, as generally the victims are never seen again. The First Nation tribes all agree on one thing, that these creatures are intelligent, and the tribes give them a kind of recognition not given to other animals. They are even feared, where many First Nation tribes are known for their bravery and knowledge of the land. Typical encounters with one of these creatures go something like this. The witness or witnesses will be camping in the woods or hiking and come across something they think initially is a bear. This is the assumption they make based on the size of the creature. However, suddenly the creature may stand up and the witnesses then realise it's not a bear. In some cases, the witnesses throw rocks into the bushes to scare off the animal. Rocks are thrown back in return. At this point, most people become perturbed, because generally animals do not throw rocks back. This is consistent except perhaps within the primate kingdom, but there are no known primates roaming the wilds of the American woods. People that encounter these creatures say it's a life-changing experience. Some do not wish to talk about the experience, fearing ridicule and harassment. The ones that do generally are subjected to ridicule and harassment. The creatures are heavy and very large, in some cases known to be 6 foot to 10 foot tall, and range anything from 400 pounds to a staggering 1,000 pounds. The weight being worked out by the size of the footprints, press volume, and the moisture quota in the ground. The most famous representation of Bigfoot is probably the now famous or infamous film, depending on which side of the fence you're on, is the Patterson-Gimlin film. A footage that shows a large bulky creature walking away from the camera. The problem with this footage is that people have cast light on the background of Roger Patterson who took the film, having some ulterior motive in producing the film. Some people suggested that the footage is simply a man in a costume. However, recent scientific studies have suggested that regardless of the costume, the kinetic movement and gait of the creature is hard to replicate from a human perspective. However, this is not conclusive, as Hollywood has made a lot of film productions with trained actors to move primate-like. Such films like 2001: A Space Odyssey and more recent blockbusters like King Kong both trained actors to move their bodies to provide a lifelike movement inside primate suits, or to create tracking points for digital effects to be imposed during post-production. Again, this footage was taken in an era where CGI VFX did not exist, and taken on film stock, not digital, which has allowed better scrutiny of the footage, and to date the jury is still out on whether this is authentic footage or fakery. What can be said is whatever is going on is happening in front of the camera and not added post. The issue with all this conjecture is most humans are not familiar with the movement of primates in detail. We see them in zoos occasionally or on TV, therefore our memories of their movement are not precise. We just know that they move in a peculiar way to us. However, in the case of another human being, we will be much better equipped to identify something false in respects to movement. This is because most of us interact with humans on a daily basis, and our eyes and our senses are trained to pick up on the smallest of defects. We have all experienced that time when you meet somebody and say to yourself, something's wrong with that person. You're not quite sure what it is, just that you know it's slightly off. Like how we can tell a bicycle wheel is buckled as it spins, because our brain knows what a wheel spinning should look like, as we're all accustomed to primary shapes from youth. If there's a slight deviation to the proper circle, our eyes can spot it very clearly. Yet, to focus on the Native American aspects of the origin of these creatures will be a misrepresentation of the facts. For if we travel many miles to the other side of the world, to the Himalayas, we also find tales, albeit with some small variation, that bears some similarity to the same creature. However, this time the creature is covered in white fur and behaves with some intelligence like its cousin. And again, like its American counterpart, there is never much interaction with the natives of the land, and only the occasional witness encounters the creature. But both creatures leave the obligatory footprints for the witnesses. There are many accounts of people meeting these creatures. Some are intriguing indeed, but many leave little evidence after the fact. So, what are we to make of all these tales? On the face of it, it seems to be a case of mistaken identification of animals and legends. However, witnesses to these events are visibly shaken and frequently change their behaviour and approach when they venture into forests after such encounters. Indeed, we know science over the last few years have identified new creatures, some found at deep ocean trenches and others on remote parts of the world. Is it so far-fetched then to suppose that there could be species unidentified with the level of intelligence to avoid man as much as possible? Due to the lack of evidence related to many of the accounts, it seems unlikely. Is it possible that these creatures exist in another parallel dimension, a place where some Celtic historians will talk about the thin earth, or the earth being thin at this point? These creatures cross into our paths and then cross back again in these places, as if for a fleeting moment a window opens and closes to another world. Whatever the facts, one thing we can be sure of is the legends and stories of Bigfoot will remain for many years to come, until someone brings forth a living specimen or intact cadaver for a mainstream autopsy.